We ask you every week.
No, we're still, mathematically, we're still not safe, and the point was a great point against Liverpool, and it, the 4 points, 3 against Palace and a point against Liverpool, but we still think we need a couple of points. So, and it's a tough run in for us. 4 games that we've got left are very, very difficult games. I think you can rightly say that we'll be underdogs in every game. So, it's a tough run in. So we need to pick up some points, Peter.
Even though we've been saying this for weeks, the old 40-point mark, you must be surprised at the resilience of some of those teams at the bottom.
No, not at all. I think that the thing with this league is that nobody packs it in, everybody keeps going, and that'll be. I'm sure Sean will be saying that to the lads at Burnley. Chris will be saying the same things at the lads at QPR. While there's a chance, then it's that spirit and commitment that this country is renowned for. When you are up against it, and nobody gives in, Pete.
Was this one of those games that you looked at and thought, I want to be safe by the time we get to Old Trafford? Going to Old Trafford is wonderful. It's a wonderful football club. It's one of the great football clubs in the world. Beautiful stadium. They have some fantastic players, so the players should embrace it. To have the opportunity and the chance to perform at Old Trafford. Not many people get that opportunity and that chance, so they're very fortunate to be in a position to go there to do that. The most important thing is once they get there that they express themselves. I'm guessing, I don't know, you tell me, but when you got promoted with Stoke, was going to Old Trafford one of the moments of your career?
Well, I think going to all the big clubs, going to all the clubs that were the clubs that you could only dream about being around, when you were a kid. So and you'd put Manchester United in that.
What about now? Is it different? Because then it was Ferguson, it was so many titles and goodness knows what, and history making. And what about now?
Well, I think Louis obviously has spent a bit of money and brought quite a few players in. I think he's had a year to look at it. I think the difference maybe from himself and Mourinho was the fact that Jose knew the league. This is Van Gaal's first season in the league. Next year, I think he has to come close to winning the league, and I think he'll know that. It's been a great experience for him this year. I'm sure he'll add a few players again to the squad next year, and they will have to get. They'll want to win it. So I see them getting stronger. I don't see them getting weaker.
Almost like a year's grace, then, if you like.
Well, David didn't get it, but Louis got it, and he's most probably got it on the basis that he's been so successful at bigger clubs, and he's won major titles at bigger clubs, and so he's got the experience behind him, and they've most probably gone for that as much as anything else.
No pun intended, but is that calling that he gets a little bit longer than the...
No, not at all. He's earned it by what he's done elsewhere, and that's the fact of life. And David was, I felt David was a good choice at the time. The big thing with David, as with anybody else, the first one taken over from Sir Alex, it was always going to be difficult, and that one person needed time, and David didn't get the time in my view. I spoke to him actually last week. He's enjoying Sociedad. I think that's been brilliant for him to go to Spain and further his career. But I'd like to see him back in England. I think he's a top manager. He's a top fella, and English coaches or British coaches, him being a Scot, it's nice to have good British coaches in the Premier League.
But can it ever be described as doing the wrong thing by taking the Man United job?
No, he couldn't turn it down. As soon as he was offered the job, you have to take it. There's not many people I should imagine who'd ever turn Manchester United down.
Speaking to Gareth McCauley yesterday, he said the players, some of the players feel like they're almost playing for their futures. Are you happy with that?
Well, they should. Every player, every minute, they go out and play for their team, should be playing for their futures. It's do or die. We've talked about this situation before, where people are comfortable and too comfortable to drive themselves forward. There's about 5 or 6 players out of contract. There's other players that will see that their futures are not here because they've not played many games. But that's the law of the land. So I'm pleased Gareth has said that.
Are you pleased that some people might be moving on because they haven't played well enough? Not just.
No, I don't think it's that. I think the group is a good group. They're a good group of lads. They've worked very hard. We haven't got a bad lad in the group. It's just that, you know, whether they're out of contract, whether they're not out of contract, you know, it's just looking at it from a manager's point of view of what's necessary and what's needed. And you know, I'll do that when the time's right.
Just fine for me. Will you be watching Mayweather Pacquiao, and where do you see it going?
Well, I think Mayweather is one of the best defensive boxers I've seen for a long time. You know, I used to like my boxing when there was proper fights around, and I'm not being disrespectful to, you know, the promoters today. I would have loved to have seen this fight 10 years ago. The two of them would have been in much better condition than what they are now, and it would have been an absolute fantastic fight. Who's to say it's not going to be a fantastic fight? But no, I you know, I have my views which way it'll go, and I'm just hoping it'll be a great fight.
Darren Fletcher returns to Old Trafford this weekend. He's going to get a cracking reception. I mean, well deserved, I imagine.
Yeah, and rightly so. He's as I've said before, he's, you know, I've taken a couple of players off Sir Alex, or players who've been stamped with his mark. The one is now captain at Stoke, and a wonderful person who has had a great career there. And you know, that was at the start of his, you know, he was at 19 when we took him, but was you know, stamped with great authority and discipline and character. And Darren's at the back end of his career, not the front end of his career, but has shown the same, you know, mould in lots of respects, same attributes. Strong character, resilient, forthright, and one day, hopefully, you know, there's lots of players who don't have to go into coaching because they've got enough money and they've got other things to do. Hopefully Darren is one of those players who will go into coaching because he's got the right genes to be a good coach and a good manager.
And just finally for me, Berahino, is it a sign that he's maybe growing up a little bit, that he's launching his foundation next week?
As I said before, Sido's been brilliant since I've come into the football club. There's been no problems with Sido. He's been good around the place. He's a young lad who's had a lot of publicity and a lot of praise early on in his career. What he needed to do was just remember what he was, professional footballer, and and be reminded that he hasn't reached the pinnacle of his career, and he can decide whether he is, you know, that good or average or falls away. He'll decide it by his attitude, his commitment, and his approach to not only football but life in general. The course that he's starting next week down in London is wonderful, and it shows the other side of what everybody perceives a kid is.
Tony?
Tony said Louis van Gaal has to get close to the title next season. Is that because of the expectation?
Oh yeah, without a question of doubt. You know, I think it's, you know, Brendan's had it at Liverpool this year, and you know, that Liverpool would have been expecting because that's what they do. Chelsea are the same, Man City are the same. You look at it, you know, the clubs at the top of the table. It's expected from them. You know, Mourinho knew that he had to win a title. He had to win the title, and he's like I say, he's gone in there. He's had a year of disappointment, and he would have been disappointed. He's identified what the weaknesses were, and that's what good managers do. Yeah, he's fortunate in respect he can get the players he wants, but then you still got to pick the right players, and he's picked the right players, and they've won the league by a country mile, and he deserves a lot of praise for that.